Welcome back to the Quiet Mountain Radio series event of our lifetime. We are
now in video.
And Derek, I am very, very excited for not only that reason and reasons that cause noises to happen in the background, but also just the fact that we are here finally playing, I guess what you might call a retro game.
Retro.
Actually retro now. And so I'm really, really excited to hop into this. I think we're going to watch a quick little cutscene, and then we're gonna just dive right on into it.
You want to watch the
track
mode video?
We can just let that play. It should come up in just a couple seconds here.
You familiar with that term? Track mode?
I am not.
It's a carryover from the arcade days. So
okay.
The videos that play in arcades that try to attract you to play them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they're in that mode, it's like the trailer
track
at
mode.
I
see.
Arcades.
Yeah.
So eventually this video may start.
Hopefully. Maybe it'll just start at the beginning. Why don't we find out if it just starts at the beginning? So we're gonna do new game, and we're gonna just let this thing roll.
Did we say the title, or did we not feel the need to? Because
I feel like
you did.
Yeah, I feel like we did.
Well, it's rule of rose.
It's rule of rose if we didn't. Having a new visual aid makes things a little tricky, but let's see where this goes here.
Was always at her side. Then one day, her mummy and daddy died suddenly, and the poor little girl was sent away to a strange house. Jennifer, play with me, Jennifer. Read the story. Please read the story. What happens next? What's this?
Well, I feel the need to break the silence here.
Sure.
So this game was developed by Punchline. Published by Atlas.
Atlas in the U.S. or in North America. It was published by Atlas.
Not in Japan?
I believe Sony Japan published it in Japan.
All right. Well, this was their second and final game.
Yep, that's it.
Are you familiar with their other title?
It had some weird name like
Tulip.
I was gonna say Chulurp. That didn't sound right.
So, do you know anything about Tulip by any chance?
Do
I
you?
actually happen to. I've seen a Let's Play, at least part of it. You play like a kid who moves to a. Oh, you might be a guy, a man. I can't tell. It's very stylized, but
sure.
I think you're a postman of sorts, and you're trying to get the town to like you, and you have to do so by kissing people.
Oh.
So
okay,
and then they moved from that into this. Moved into psychological horror
just right off the bat.
Yeah,
interesting. Okay, so we have this story here. Once upon a time, there was a precious little girl. Her friend, the princess of the Red Rose, was always at her side. Then one day, her mummy and daddy died suddenly. The princess too disappeared, leaving the girl all alone. And the poor little girl was sent away to a strange house. That's it so far. Okay. So, I know a bit about this game. I know sort of the general plot. I know a little bit about the development. But the one thing I really don't know anything at all about is how it plays, gameplay, controls, anything like that. So we're gonna be learning here as we go, just to kind of see how we're gonna do this today.
Now, I haven't played this either. This is the first time for both of us. We've both heard of it. It's kind of, I don't know if infamous is the right word. But
yeah.
it didn't do very well when it came out.
No.
The controls or the combat specifically was
ridiculed.
Kind of ridiculed.
Yeah.
But we've talked about that before with horror games, that it can add something if it's clunky and it can make you feel kind of frightened to be in combat if you can't really do anything.
Yeah, if it's not empowering, right?
Right.
And I don't think that at any point they felt that the player would be empowered during this game at all.
Right.
We were playing as this young adult woman in a
Jennifer.
Right?
Okay.
Horrifying situation, and
this looks very Silent Hill.
Yeah,
so far.
I can't control the camera, so that's all just sort of stuck.
Can't?
No, it's
I
all.
thought you were doing that.
It's all, I think, some perspective here. So as the girl approached the sign, we lost our chance to read that one out loud. That's okay though.
And that one.
Yep. So I think right now we're heading to the orphanage, and
right. So exactly, you're going to an orphanage.
Yeah.
So. Is that where I don't know if I want to say it out loud and spoil for those watching maybe what's coming, but
that's
is that the orphanage?
That is
nonverbal
it will be.
communication?
It will be. Yeah.
So I believe this takes place, if my memory serves, it was like 1930 in England or London, one of the two. Man, this looks so reminiscent of Silent Hill.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It really does, and
I'm happy that I can reference the things on screen.
Right,
finally.
we can actually talk about it. We don't have to, describe everything. But to me, this kind of filled out that psychological horror genre of the late PlayStation 2 a bit. It seemed like everybody was reaching for that or trying to find this new thing to make horror games about, and so you had this, and you had a Haunting Ground, and you had all of these games sort of coming out of the woodwork. And this was released in 2006, so we're talking months before the Xbox 360, months before the PlayStation 3, and this is just right at the tail end there, and you never hear about it for I'm sure a lot of people would say good reason, but it's just not something that really comes up, but it's still a cornerstone of that psychological horror PlayStation 2 gallery, I guess, if that makes sense. I'm not entirely sure where we're going right now, unfortunately, but I did just find that dog collar, which will become relevant much later on. So we're gonna kind of look around a bit.
Can you sneak back that way?
I don't think so. No, I cannot. So we're gonna go this other way now and hope for the best.
Hopefully this doesn't get too bogged down with us being lost. If it does, I'll cut it out.
Yeah, we can figure things out here and there if we have to.
So, like you said, this was at the tail end of the PS2.
Yeah, yep.
Do you think that might be part of why you don't hear about it so much, or is it just the controversy about it?
I have to imagine that people being, hyped beyond belief for the next generation of consoles and the games and the graphics that they can bring, definitely hindered any sort of hype that this game might have had it not been just completely swarmed in all of that controversy. And do you want to kind of go down that rabbit hole?
Before we go any further, we should probably explain that this game was surrounded by controversy. It was
mostly in Europe.
Right. Well, yeah. I was trying to kind of find some explanation of what exactly the accusations were.
Sure.
But most of them just kind of summarize it as violence towards children, or eroticism aimed at children, or sadomasochism.
Yep.
Rather. There were a couple of course, politicians who kind of championed that argument. I think the game even got banned in Australia and New Zealand.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I saw some not conflicting information, but somewhere you would see it listed as banned in these countries, and other times you would see it listed as it wasn't sold in this country. So to say it was banned, I'm not sure if that's like an inflammatory, like, oh, this game was just outright banned from New Zealand, or if it was that it just was not sold there for, you know, X, Y, and Z reason, and the controversy just sort of played into that.
This is an interesting site.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the case in New Zealand, but I have heard that Australia, their ratings board, they do this tricky thing where they'll just refuse to classify something,
sure,
which essentially bans it, but it just doesn't.
It
doesn't count as banning it.
It doesn't count.
Come there, right?
Yeah.
So.
And from what I've heard, most retailers won't put a game on shelves that is not rated. Typically, you see that a lot in North America with like a GameStop, that if a game is rated AO, adult only, you don't see it sold anywhere. They just those retailers don't want to associate with that. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
This game, I believe, just has an M rating. I don't think it received, an adult only rating anywhere. I think it was 17 plus in North America and 16 plus in the European nations that it did release in, and I think it might have even been 15 plus in Japan. So it certainly doesn't have anything that warranted that adult only rating that you might see in the United States. And from what I've seen of it, it's really nothing like that's outrageous. I mean, there's some tense subject matter and themes to it, but it was just sort of head scratching when you hear about this game just being impossible to find and it's been banned in this country and that. But when you finally look into it, that's it. Like, why was that?
Well, yeah.
Why was that the reason?
Pretty much every game that's gone through that cycle.
Yes.
Kind of, I would say the same thing about.
Yeah,
I mean, some of it you can understand, like with Postal.
Right.
It's a little bit.
I do think that there are some games that maybe I don't want to say seek out that notoriety, but definitely play to it.
Well, I think now for sure.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some that try to grab that controversy and then run with it as a way to sort of promote themselves. But I don't think that was ever anywhere near what this game was going for. No.
But that game, Hatred.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with
Hatred. Yeah.
Where essentially you play a what is you go on a mass murder spree.
Yeah. Yep. And it's all in like some like stylized black and white, and everything that the character says is just horrifying.
Yeah.
But I just like we said, when it came to actually finding out what caused all the controversy, it was just sort of just odd. And so now it told me that I needed a pass to enter, and I don't know where we're going to find a pass. I don't have a pass. And those children won't talk to me either.
Okay, so you were trying to activate the gate.
Yeah, I was. There's a lot of invisible walls that I'm finding myself stuck on as well. It's like all of these bushes are objects with massive areas around them that you're not allowed to touch. So when you're walking, you're not really choosing the direction that you're going. It's just whatever direction the game is letting me walk in. And I can kind of show you, Derek, over here. And the people watching at home,
oh, look at that!
You stop right here. You don't get to go anywhere even remotely past this door. And if I interact with this door sign, no one allowed without a pass. But we don't have a pass. And if we touch the door, it shows us that it's just locked and no one allowed without a pass. So I don't think I have access to any kind of inventory right now. I have some stuff.
Boarding pass.
Boarding pass. Use. Where's the cursor? There it is.
That's got to be it.
Yeah, nothing happened. All right.
That didn't use it. Can you pause it in here?
That's what I was hoping to do, but that didn't work either. What else do we have here? We have storybook diary. We have a dog collar. We have a boarding pass, and we have our little book. So, can we do anything with?
We're not doing very well here.
We aren't, but that's okay. We're all here to learn.
Look.
We're gonna look at the boarding pass. Small slip of paper with boarding pass written on it. Okay, that's all we got.
That's got to be it.
Right.
Can you go use it at those kids?
Let's try that.
Maybe.
Try that. There's only so many things I can do right now. And it's a little difficult to puzzle these early parts of the game out while talking about video game controversy and
Right.
ratings boards and all of that. And there was a bit that I read on Wikipedia regarding that controversy, and maybe you looked into it a little bit more. It was just something that I sort of glanced at, but it sounded like some people in the UK, and I don't remember what her title was, but they weren't really happy with the guy that had raised all the alarm bells regarding this game, and she had written a letter to him saying that the way that he went about it really wasn't wise. Did you read that at all, or do you
I don't recall
remember
that,
seeing
actually.
anything about that?
I do remember one of the things I read said that felt the need to point out that everybody who was upset at it didn't actually play the game.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
pretty standard.
because otherwise you would have seen that those things that they're talking about aren't
Right.
in the game, or
But that's not what matters.
no,
it's,
no,
It's about
yeah,
riling people up.
right? And that's kind of the way that I started to think about it once I was actually reading it, was that their intention of really building this game up as this like this sin, this front against humanity, made me kind of wonder what the intent was, because it wasn't like this game was the next hot thing that they couldn't keep out of the kids' hands. It was just a really small game that didn't really get a whole ton of press otherwise, and probably wouldn't have. But now all of a sudden they're talking about the PEGI rating board needs to be reviewed, and we need to start this observatory for how media affects children. And so to me that just kind of got me wondering if that was maybe the outcome of that, was let's find this thing that has just this smidge of controversy to it, or just a platform that we can attack and then implement these new rules. Like, it wasn't necessarily that they were defending the people and the poor children and the consumers from this aggressively artistic, hurtful, hateful game, but rather let's take the control that we have over what is being portrayed in this media and add all these new sort of moving parts and rules to it. It just didn't really seem like the game was what they were mad about. It was more so about these committees and what oversight they had over the accessibility of said media. And maybe I've just gone completely like tinfoil hat in that case.
Maybe so.
But I was just sort of head scratching that this of all games was the controversy point, when you have everything else. And granted, you do hear quite a bit about other, big games, and this should be banned, that should be banned. Call of Duty, has this scene in it, but those, you never hear about those being banned.
No,
you don't hear about.
Call of Duty 2, you shot up a airport.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2. Yeah,
sorry.
And that I don't think was banned in the UK, with them advocating that it should be banned in other nations as well. And it just seemed like such a strange hill to die on, I guess.
Yeah, well, a lot of times those like non-traversies.
Yeah.
Eventually, like the controversy itself becomes the controversy. Like it just kind of continues just to continue the stupid argument, and
that's all.
Like
that's all.
People are upset that people are upset, and it just perpetuates infinitely, and eventually, I guess it fizzles out. But so we're still struggling here, huh?
Hey, look at that! The miracle of editing and actually pressing the right buttons that you were supposed to. Look at that, and that little creep just ran away.
If you check the tape, I thought he tried that.
Yeah, I thought we tried that
earlier.
too. But I guess we didn't hit the buttons right. Okay,
Maybe
so
we weren't in the right spot.
Now that we are finally through the boarding pass gate, that we use the boarding pass on that, let's take a look. That is, can I view it? Yes. Legend of Stray Dog. Stray Dog gives us sweets. All right, Stray Dog.
I thought it was an alligator or something.
It's got an alligator mouth. Okay, so
What were we talking about before?
I was just going
Controversy?
on and on and on about the controversy and how
Who cares?
Rule of Rose was just a strange hill to die on. But hey, we're playing it now, some 13 years later. So,
Still clamoring for it.
yeah,
Speaking of, when I was reading, not the Wikipedia page, but some other article about this game, they said something about how you're not likely to find anybody who's clamoring for this game. And then I ended up on the trailer that's on the Atlas YouTube page.
Okay.
And there was thousands of comments of people saying, please remake this.
Yeah.
So somebody's wrong.
Yeah.
about-
So, and you know, it's probably all those people who comment on YouTube videos.
Right, but the guy who wrote an article saying nobody's clamoring for
Yeah.
this game. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of fan bias there. That,
Sure.
I mean, fans are probably going to end up on the Atlas,
YouTube page.
but,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And I have to imagine that this game also needed some time to sort of marinate.
Like Steep or something.
Yeah, for just people to kind of realize what it had to offer. And, you know, 2006, that wasn't like the height of graphics and game design and artistic expression. I mean, they're like, you know, just amazing, fantastic games that were released in that time, but we were still waiting on the 360. We were still waiting on the PS3. So to me, when I think of like 2006, 2005, that PS2 era, everybody was still sort of clamoring for all of those high-end graphics, pristine, lifelike, super realistic gameplay. And so when you get something that really wasn't trying to offer that, you kind of, you know, you see it get passed by. This isn't what people wanted to play in 2006. You know, this isn't what people wanted to play probably in 2010. And it really wasn't until you saw all of that, like, boom in indie gaming, when that became more accessible and people were making games that, you know, were these great experiences and full of nostalgia, but also new ideas.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
I really, really love that those moonbeams that are coming in through the windows.
Sure.
Did you see those
Yeah.
in the hallway?
Yeah.
That looks so good.
For
PS2?
Yeah, for PS2 in
2006?
2006.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And that's exactly what we were just saying. You know, some things like that really weren't appreciated the way that they are now. You know, people in 2006 were, you know, looking at faces. They were looking at environments, and they were, you know, they see this gray game like this, and they think, well, you know, it's got crappy controls, doesn't have the most lifelike, you know, life has been breathed into this media graphics, so what? And so then I feel like right now, at least in video games, we're sort of horseshoeing around from constantly striving for these games that have these insane, true to life graphics to let it be stylized. Let's just make the game good. You know, if it doesn't look like it was made by Naughty Dog, that's okay. And I think that's where you're starting to kind of see the appreciation for some of these, like this. And I also think of Haunting Ground, which is another just ultra rare. Oh, there we go.
I was not actually aware of that game until doing research.
Oh, really?
On this one,
Okay, yeah,
actually.
that was one that I always kind of had my eye on the same way I've had this.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Those rays look
fantastic. Same way I've had my eye on this one. Haunting Ground is just something that's really piqued my interest. It's very similar to this in its presentation.
Is it? Okay.
And it's another like sort of psychological horror. You know, that's the whole selling point, is that it doesn't really rely on jump scares. It relies on like that tension, and it kind of had that early hide and seek horror gameplay loop to it, where you're not ever on the offensive. Each encounter is sort of its own puzzle of, okay, when do I hide here? How do I get to A to B without this guy getting me? And both of these games also have a dog companion that we'll find eventually, hence the dog collar. I've been chasing this little boy forever.
So, you mentioned the lack of use of jump scares.
Yeah.
Which I'm very fond of, or I prefer for my horror. And wow, look at that shadow. That's crazy. I'm interrupting myself here. But sorry. That was one of the sort of stated goals at the beginning of this project for
Sure.
Rule of Rose, was that they didn't want to have that shock and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
shock and terror.
Yep.
Something more subtle is what they were aiming for. So,
And I remember reading that they said that they had originally wanted this game, or the first pitch, I should say, was you playing as a young boy who had been kidnapped.
Yep.
And then the publisher was just like, no, like that's too much.
And you did like encounter ghosts of
of
prior
his,
victims,
of victims and all of
yeah.
that. Yeah, which is kind of an interesting concept.
Probably make it now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But 2006, not so much.
No, not tail end of the console generation. You're trying to make a daring horror game. Yeah, probably not gonna work out the way you want it to.
And here we go. I feel like we shouldn't be completely silent here.
I mean, if you have something to add, go ahead.
I did, and I lost track of it there.
That's okay.
But I was gonna make a joke about how at this era I would expect her shadow to just be a circle.
Oh,
like
on the ground,
like an oval
yeah.
on the But good for them. Good for you, Punchline, for this and Tulip.
And
here's
don't forget Tulip.
We won't let you.
No.
Did you read much on like where the developers ended up from this company?
No, I did see that
there was
that this game was made by 25 people, which is incredible, absolutely incredible. But I did not take a look at anything else in terms of.
If I remember, it's not that remarkable of
Sure.
a story, so I don't know why I brought it up. I guess, but sorry, I'm just reading here.
No, I mean I can read it out loud if
Go
you
ahead.
want to talk more about the developers at all.
Go ahead,
Okay.
read.
All right. And the poor little girl was sent away to the strange house. At her new home, the Aristocrat Club lived by the rule of Rose, but the girl found herself very much alone. Is this the same story as before? It is not.
Well, if you go left, are you filling out the pages of the book?
That's what I assumed. But
Mummy and Daddy died,
so this is the boy had asked me to read this book to him.
Okay, so we're getting a little Alan Wake.
Yeah, kind of.
Wakey here.
But are there? Oh, okay,
Yes.
that's it. There we go. I see. We will now begin the funeral.
Okay, there's a bit of a dark turn.
Yeah. All those attending, please gather around at this time.
Is somebody talking? Are we not hearing it, or was it just a text thing?
I think it may have just been, some sort of presentation.
No.
Come on, Jennifer, the funeral is about to begin.
Kids can be so creepy. God. That's part of the, I think that was one of their
It's a funeral for your dead
goals
friend.
in like the theme of the game, but I feel like I'll save that discussion for another episode. The themes
Sure.
in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, unless you want to dive into it. But
No, I mean, I think right now this is going to wrap up episode 1 of Rule of Rose on the Quiet Mountain radio show. Thank you very much.